Welcome to the show where 3 generations of family go head to head on a variety of topics. You got one Gen-Zer, Chris, one Millennial, Noe, and one baby boomer from Brooklyn, Kaya, myself. No matter what the topic may be, you better believe that it'll be up for debate.
So if people are thinking, yo, you can find the baddest chicks at church and this and that, third, yo, go to church. Yo, there's some joints in there that I was on the club with yesterday. Yo, go to church. Yo, try and get
I told Chris to go to church and meet some women, some nice women, but
you know what I'm saying? Or like, just simple things like, yo, the pastor's daughters, those are the worst ones. Like, yo, it's great. Like, it's just so hard to call it genuinely effective when you are genuinely stereotyped by people in a very, very negative way, whether it's sex, whether it's stealing money.
Do you think that it would be better if you appeared to be perfect, but yet you were struggling and you were battling your own demons on a regular basis in private that nobody knew about? Because there have been ministers and pastors that literally committed suicide in hotel rooms, you know what I'm saying? Or committed suicide in their home. So it's like a catch-22, because when you put people on a pedestal that they can't live up to, no man can live up to that level of perfection. Because, okay, I'm just using Jamal Bryant as an example because we were just talking about him. Jamal Bryant, right? When he's preaching, he could be preaching about whoremongering and infidelity and stuff that day. And when he's preaching, he's literally preaching to himself first, and he means every bit of that sermon. And at that moment, while he's preaching, he believes every second and every sentence that he said. But then he goes somewhere and he sees a young tenderoni and gets caught up. Does that make him a bad person? Does that make him not a pastor? Does that make him not used? Like, you don't know what his relationship is with God behind closed doors. Now, I'm not saying that the church should be a free-for-all strip club. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, when you hold pastors and preachers and apostles and bishops up to this standard that they cannot live up to, if the church ain't show you nothing, it showed you that half the people that's up there in the pulpit, it's crazy. You calling on angels from Africa.
I remember that too.
There's a direct correlation between the size of your church and how your pastor is perceived. Because there's this show called Black Jesus, hilarious. It's a comedy. It was on Adult Swim with Joe Johnson as Jesus. Charlie Murphy was in there. R.I.P. Charlie Murphy. But essentially, it was satirical because it was about Jesus. He was Black and he was in Compton, like living amongst people in Compton, smoking weed, drinking, whatever. It was hilarious, but I think the show had some real depth to it in terms of the message that it was trying to send, because that's what essentially get that relationship with God is about. You know what I'm saying? One, being able to see who you're being led by in the trenches with you. You know what I'm saying? Doing the things that you're doing, feeling the things that you're feeling, and having to experience the things that you're experiencing. So when you go to a church and somebody's standing above you or in the pulpit in front of you, preaching down to you, or having a rollie or this nice suit jacket on while you got, your ripped Air Forces on or whatever, it sends a subconscious message, whether or not you're, believing that they're above you or not. Because it's say come as you are or whatever, but at the same time, you're trying to change your life by going to this place. So if you look like this, I'm trying to get where you at. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I keep making it akin to selling drugs or being a dope dealer, because when you see these dudes driving around in BMWs or, having a Rolex or whatever, yeah, you don't want to be in that lifestyle, but you see what they have, you're just like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could do that. Let me be closer to you a little bit. So when you have these dudes in mega churches, there's no possible way you can have a sense of humility being in that big of a church with that big of a status, having that much bread. It's impossible. It's
But
impossible.
like Noe said about having people having a negative light on you with people, like in mega churches, 96% of those people that you see on a daily basis are singing your praises. They don't care about what the naysayers may say. That's my pastor. Don't you talk about my pastor. That's my pastor. Go ahead, Bishop. Go ahead and preach, Bishop.
That's an abusive relationship.
And I also think that that's insanity to some degree. Because I don't think,
Cult-like.
yeah, because I don't, like, for me, like I said before, I definitely want somebody with experience, real life, real world experience, like you've been through. And that's why that's why you're here, because you want to preach and teach other people how to get through, you know what I'm saying? Through, you know what I'm saying? With God, you want to help people get to that level. And that's awesome. I just feel like the church, them, like the congregation, I think they also have to hold their pastors accountable, because at some point, like if my pastor is preaching and it's like, bro, you were just on IG apologizing to your wife last month and you're now doing it again. And you're now doing it again. And you're now doing it again. And you're now doing it again.
We're talking about him apologizing to his wife. Or are we talking about the women that literally will come to a church? And I have been
and try and trap them.
Huh?
And try and trap them and get at them.
Listen, let me tell you something. Because this is, you want to talk about crazy? I could run down crazy to you. You come to a church, right? And you see a pastor up there preaching or on the pulpit, sitting, with his legs crossed and he just rocking, with this, pastoral rock. And a woman can see that man with the ring on his finger and said, God said, that's going to be my husband.
No, I completely understand. It's insanity too. And I get it. I'm just simply saying that as I think in everything, as the leader, you expect more from the leader.
Of course.
So as the person who's leading the way, it's kind of like, bro, you gotta, you're to some degree like the prime example of whatever might go down, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like I want my leader to also be accountable, which means I also need you to step up and, make whatever. You can't, like, if I attend your church and you're out here wilding in these streets, I can't have my son come talk to you if he's wilding, because it's going to be like, what are you going to tell him if you up here and you still act this way? You know what I'm saying? Now, everybody spiritually matures and just personally and humanly matures in a different way and at different speeds, but it's just like you said, like that 96% of people who are like, that's my pastor, that's this, that's that. I think to some degree, people are getting too caught up, as Chris said, in the celebrity of church. And there's certain things that I'd like.
Always going to be like that.
Like, but even with like Jesus wasn't running around here like, yo, I'm trying to be the celebrity and the well-known, and everybody look at me, I'm the man and I'm this and all this other stuff. Like, no, that's not what we out here trying to do. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having a mega church. I mean, if you preach the word of God and you and your congregation have gotten to a point where you were able to build this, that's awesome. It's just, I think there's a lot that goes on that gives those that are genuine, just like anything, it gives them a bad name and a bad rap, and it makes it difficult for people to look at it and take it seriously. And that's the part where it's like the effectiveness of it might, yeah, it's effective if you want to get into it, find a way to manipulate people, get some money, get rich, and get out while you can. It's effective if you want to, like, to ask your congregation for $60 million is bold. And you only do that if you know you can get it.
That's hard.
That's real. And so you would only ask somebody something like that if you knew there's a chance they'll do this. And it's kind of like, how effective has the church been in doing what the church is are
It's
in doing
designs.
to do exactly.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's hard to, and for me, it's hard to say. Like, I feel like to some degree, the smaller churches in the community,
Mhm.
the medium-sized churches in the community
Mhm.
are the ones that are the most
Those be the
effective.
ones.
You know what I'm saying? But you see, like, I know a lot of these big churches, oh yeah, come as you are, everybody. We love you. Yes, do this and do this. And yeah, we'll take care of everything. And then it's kind of like, oh, well, we're hosting a concert and it's gonna be, $100 a ticket. And it's like, well, everybody here can't afford a ticket. This is a rather large and wealthy church. Do you think that you can cover some tickets for those who can't? No, we can't do that. Then what are we really doing here? Like and that's just an example, but it's just that kind of thinking and that kind of ideology to me is just, it's shady, and that's not effective in doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing. It's effective in you getting money and keeping money and retaining money and growing and becoming rich and doing all that other stuff. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not effective at what you were designed to do, then to me, you're not really effective at all.
So you're landing on not effective.
I'm leaning on not as effective as they should be. I definitely think that they save souls. I think, no matter how crazy it is, there's going to be people in there that genuinely come to God because of what you're doing. And I definitely think, when you listen to them preach, like, yeah, they obviously know the word and they can preach and they can minister and do all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's perfect. You know what I'm saying? As crazy as, some of the stuff that we see is, I think, just as example, I think John Gray is a phenomenal preacher. I think, Jamal Bryant is a phenomenal preacher. No doubt. I think Joel Osteen is phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? Even listening to Creflo Dollar, as crazy as some of the stuff that he might do is, I think they're good preachers. I think they know the Bible. But with that, it's like, you ever see people when it's like you get into a business, like if you work at a sneaker store and once you figure out how the register works, it's like, yo, come through. I know how to discount stuff. I can do this. And you start to manipulate the system for your own good and your own gain. And I feel like that.
Are you admitting to manipulating the system?
No, because
Aha.
Are you
well, as a matter of fact,
Champs cash register?
Me and Kai go way back to Macy's. That's all I'm gonna say.
You better know it. Yeah, can I speak to Noe, please?
You know what I'm saying? So it's like once you learn that stuff, it's like, yo, all right, yo, or somebody's a waiter, like, I got you, bro. I'm gonna bring you a couple of drinks. Yo, just leave me like a $20 tip. I'm gonna take it off the bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, just simple stuff.
Mhm.
You start to manipulate the system for your own gain, or even if it's for somebody else's gain. At the end of the day, you're still manipulating the system. And I just feel like with a lot of these churches in particular, like, think about it. Churches are pretty much like doing infomercials in the middle of the night, the way these other things are.
Yeah.
Like, and like, that's just something that shouldn't happen. Reverend Peter Popoff. Like,
oh my God. I'm just like, you're still on air?
Like, it's like, oh, it's like we're selling holy water. What? Just like, are you serious?
They rip off the label off the Poland Spring bottle.
You know what I'm saying? Like, drink this water 3 times a day and you will be healed.
And it's like,
it's like, wow. Like,
listen,
this is where we're at.
That because I grew up in a deliverance ministry, that was the normal joint. Put your water on the altar, go pray up. That was the normal joint.
But that's fine. I don't have any problem with, hey, you got your water on the altar and you pray over it, you drink. Well, that's fine. But if I'm selling it for $30 in the middle of the night, oh, you can get a third bottle for free and just call us and we'll pray with you. The prayer is going to cost you $10. Hand raised.
I'm going to just say this. Kirk Franklin said, preacher, teach me how to live when the tongues is done.
Preacher, teach me how to live now when the tongue is done.
Everybody can go to church. They can lift their hands. They can speak in tongues. They can shout. I am the professional. I do that everywhere I go. That event we went to on Saturday, they was praying to say to everybody to go home. Everybody dressed up and they nice, and she praying, and everybody turned around and said, "What?" Yeah, I could do that with the best of them. I could shout a place down with the best of them. But it was not until I had to come out from among them that I realized how to live. Because growing up in the church for all those years, I never really knew how to live. And that is the problem. We go to church and we get so involved in the church, You want to talk about efficacy? The church is doing exactly what some set out for it to do. Hence the reason why I mentioned the 501c3. So that's why a lot of the mega churches and the other churches don't really say much when it comes to police brutality and social change and social justice, because of the fact that they're being backed by these here United States of America's government. You understand what I'm saying? So you ain't gonna bite the hand that feeds you. Now people want to talk about New Birth, or want to talk about the late Eddie Long, because he had his own. You know what happened with Eddie Long, right? You heard about that. But Eddie Long, I went to Eddie Long's church for a long time, and that's the church that Jamal Bryant took over. They do a lot for their community. A lot for their community. Now, if he was dealing with some, doing some people against their will, all that other stuff, no, I don't know. But the ministry itself, because the ministry should not be just one person, but the ministry should be a body of people that are working for a greater good. Now, if they're doing that, then high five, let's do it. But if you literally not saying nothing, that's when you see people literally getting shot down right in front of church, you ain't saying that because you getting kickbacks from the government, then there's a problem. If you have an entire people that believe up until this day, and then they'd be like, well, what difference does it make? That believe that Jesus was white, blonde hair, blue eyes. But yet, the geographical location of his existence, where it's supposed to be, I don't see no. But they really convinced themselves over time. And because people have, made pictures, they've really convinced themselves over time that Jesus, even though the Bible literally describes him, they're just like, no, this is him. But they said his hair was woolly. The pictures I was doing that, his hair not woolly. I don't know how they made Brad Pitt Jesus, but that's efficacy, because that means that an entire group of people believe that this man.
Yeah. So you're landing on they're effective.
No, that's not what I said. No. You mean I should treat him like white folks? No. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. Then I don't understand. Then I don't know what you want, Big Daddy.
So you're landing on they're not effective.
I'm leaning on the effective at being non-effective.
So that means not effective.
I'm leaning on them being effective at being non-effective.
They are effectively ineffective.
Yeah.
But I think it also goes back to, it's one of those things where I think it just, you land on, you should be, for what you're saying, let's just call it an institution, for lack of a better word, for what this institution was built to do and the purpose it's supposed to serve, you are not effective at that. Okay. But you are effective in, money laundering, or you are effective in, politics and, racial, politics, or whatever the case may be. You are effective in discrimination. You are effective in, fornication and getting away with it. You are effective in selling indulgences, in the words of Martin Luther from many, many moons ago. It's just one of those things. It's like, you do things effectively, but why can't you do what you should do as effectively as you do other stuff? It's kind of like when your parents are just like, you can remember all those songs, but you can't remember what you studied yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
I'd have to agree.
It's just, I think it's unfortunate. That's when I think about the church, I think it's like, man, like it's really unfortunate the way people view the church, because it really doesn't have to be like that, because there's no trust. And if people don't trust the church, then you're not effective.
Yeah, people side eye.
Well, people
I know
do
so
trust the
many
church.
people
That's
that have
why
left. Huh?
I said people do trust the church. That's why they have as much power and influence that they do. But it's just the trust that you're talking about in terms of whatever moral street you want to go down.
Yeah.
People do trust the church.
In order to
in
trust the way you're talking
droves.
about, Chris, it has to be a blind trust. It has to be,
Sure, but
I'm
it's
gonna
trust
follow.
nonetheless, which is what I'm saying. But it's trust nonetheless. But you're speaking more specific towards what you believe the church should do. But if you're just talking about effectiveness and what religion should be in general, then yeah, the church is effective. And the church has that power and influence to do whatever it sees fit to do.
And just to be clear, it's not what I want them to. I'm just going based on what the church says. So it's like, for me, it's if you tell me that you are a basketball instructor, you're the best, you can do all those things, fantastic. My kid's going to come here, he's going to work with you, right? But if you don't teach him anything about basketball, but it's just like, oh, well, I saw Chris, he was doing drugs and he was doing this and it's all great, and my kid is picking up everything else except what you said you were effective at, then you're essentially you're not effective at what you said you were effective at. So it's not so much like what I believe. I'm holding you to the standard that you said that you were going to uphold.
Okay, then I agree with that in that case.
You ever listen to TD Jakes? Any of his sermons?
Sure do.
TD Jakes is gifted by God. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that brother can break down the world, like nobody's business, right? But you rarely hear anything from him when it comes to breaking down the legal system. So is that, we're supposed to be on this level. I mean, he does movies and he does speak every now and again, but with the influence that he has, you would think that he would be a little more vocal and instrumental in certain things. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
No, I can definitely see where you're coming from and why you would say that. And I'm inclined to agree with that. I think too, a lot of times with people is sometimes they're not that they're not paying attention. They kind of just think, well, yeah, I'm going to discuss this on my live tonight. And, we're going to go over this and, just whatever, we'll just have a small discussion about what's going on in the criminal justice system or what's going on with, racial inequality and whatever the case may be. And then it's kind of like, all right, great. So what do you want to do about that? Like, we're talking about it and how bad it is. And, we're voicing our opinions on it, but what's the plan of action? I feel like,
come together to pray.
Exactly. And I think sometimes it's like, hey, I'm down for the prayer, but what's the plan of action? And in my mind, I think with a lot of, I guess, prominent people, they're not thinking plan of action. It's almost like you see all these, people who have, as an example, so the owner of the Clippers bought the Forum, the Lakers' old stadium, right? Mm-hmm. This dude wrote a check for $450 million.
Say what now? What's his name? How can I get in touch with him?
So he was a former CEO of Microsoft. I don't know why his name is slipping my mind.
It's not Donald Sterling, is it?
No. The dude that came in after him. He's worth like $70 billion or something crazy. So he goes and he did that just as a flex on the Lakers. Like, look, I'm about to buy your old building, $450 million cash. And and for me, when I think about that, like just kind of tying that to the TD Jakes thing, it's like, yo, if you could spend $450 million in cash and not be bothered by it at all, then there's so much else that you could do. Like if you could give away for like Jeff Bezos, yo, hey, Van Jones, here's $100 million. I really don't care what you do with it. If you can do that, then why are people out here suffering? Like, nah, don't develop a program to do anything. Just do it. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I feel like people are in the, oh, well, let's get a team of people together and let's develop something and see what we can do. Like, nah, bro, be like my man the dude that was speaking, I think at the Morehouse graduation. Look, y'all are graduating. Don't even sweat it. I got all of your college tuition on lock. $50 million paying it. Like, to me, that's what I'm talking about when it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we're going to make a change. Now, I get it. Sometimes you want to you want to create something because, creating a system, putting things in place might create jobs for people. And I get all of that. But sometimes it's like, yo, we don't need a system. You can do it. Just do it. You know what I mean? And I think that part of it, just using, going back to TD Jakes, a lot of people don't think that way. It's like, you want me to give you $20 million? Like, nah. It's like, you ain't giving me 20, but it's $20 million for this cause. Like, we're just going to go and do it ourselves. And some people are like, nah, I'm not doing that. They just don't think to do that. And then some of them are just like, hell no. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
I don't know them niggas.
We going to go to God on this one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's...
I'm going to tell you this, Chris, because I'm going to side with you on this one. The Jewish, because I'm Ashkenazi Jewish, but they came over here and they obviously suffered in Auschwitz and in Germany, different camps. A lot of them were killed. Many of them heinously were killed. They came over here. They still get government money. But when they call the 911, a Jewish ambulance comes and picks them up. When they call 911, Jewish 50. They are a society.
Right down Eastern Parkway, they got them all out there.
Hello. They are a society in a society. And people be like, oh, what's your nationality? You can check Jewish. Where are you from? The last time I checked, Jewish was not a state, country, city. But they have literally carved out their own little piece of the pie. But yet, we are at 501c3s as churches, but yet we don't have that. So when you say effective, that's the type of effective I want to be. Not just that, that's the type of effective I want to be. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed.
Power to the people. You better believe it. I don't get part of that. I don't get part of that Jewish fund. How could I sign up? Can I be a part of that one? Anybody? Anybody know?
Nope.
Comment down below.
If you know and where you being born, I got the DNA to prove it. So the moral of the story is what? The church is powerless. But
no, the church is powerful, but I think they need to be powerful in what their purpose is, or what they were, and what they said that their purpose should be. If you are a church and you follow the word of God, then you should absolutely follow the word of God. That's in the church, out of the church, whatever it is that you're doing. This is the purpose that you set out. You need to be effective in what it is you said your purpose was.
So I'm going to ask both of you, do you feel that pastors should be blameless and not engage in adultery, fornication, stealing, smoking?
No?
Huh?
I feel like we addressed that largely.
No, I think,
No.
well, you did ask that question. I think we skipped it though.
Yeah, nobody
I feel like
answered.
implicitly we addressed that though, in terms of
I would love to answer that though.
Separating the pastor from the actual
The
purpose of what
office?
the church should be. But
Separating
based
the
on
man from the
discernment.
office?
Yeah, that's based on discernment from the congregation. I mean, I feel like we addressed that.
But do you personally feel that, because I don't remember you saying whether or not you personally feel that the man of God should be that of someone that is not engaging in sinful behaviors?
When you deal with things with humans, it's inevitable. So that whole cancel culture thing and putting people on a pedestal, that's what I'm saying, that we address that, because once you have people that are human involved in things like this, it's inevitable for you to deal with human flaws.
Okay.
Me, on the other hand, I think, generally speaking, like, no, I don't think the pastor should be involved in those things. Like, you shouldn't be out, like, sleeping around with women and doing extra stuff like that. However, people are human, and I don't put anything past any human being, because you can, if the right thing happens at the right time, you can be, subject to that. You can fall to that. And I completely understand that. I just ask for the transparency, and I also ask for the growth. I don't think, because you made a mistake, you should lose your position as a pastor, or you should lose your job or anything like that. But I do think you should be accountable. And I do think going forward, you should grow the way that you would teach somebody else to grow. You should get better the way that you would expect it of somebody else. I think that should be expected of you, not just he's the pastor and he preaches and he's touched by God, don't worry about him. Like, no, I am worried about him because he's the pastor. And if we're under him and he's out here acting crazy and doing all this other stuff, then what does that really say about us? If none of us are willing to hold him accountable, you just let it all.
It says that you are a
celebrity churchgoer. Practice what you preach.
Okay, Barry White. Listen, this honestly is a very sensitive topic, because a lot of people go hard for their pastors, and that's like blasphemy, But I think that it's good for conversations to be had, because in church they don't really even like talking about sex,
which is insane.
Like when I was in a former church, and my pastor, he did not like to see your knees. So when we were on the pulpit, like, we literally called them "Yes, Lord" skirts, because the skirts literally came down to our ankles. You could not have your armpits out, and I'm just like, because they're like, the enticing man. I'm just like, what men are like, ooh, look at her armpits. Like, I've been around a few decades. I never look at them armpits. I've never heard that.
Those freshly shaved pits.
Well, look at them kneecaps.
Look at those dove streaks.
I don't remember ever seeing that.
That's
so
true.
I think women are held to a higher standard in the church than men are, but that's a different story for another day.
I agree with that too.
So all in favor of ineffective, say aye.
Purposely ineffective, yes.
Chris, you was that
I'm sticking to my guns.
You okay? So it's 2-1.
Which is effective. Period.
They're effective generally.
Yeah, he's still on his general use thing.
General use. Okay.
Which I do understand. I absolutely
Everything
understand.
Else is a matter, up to me personally, of opinion and subjectiveness.
Whatever.
But I do think the general use idea is effective. Like, if I can take something and just use it for whatever and get what I want because of this particular thing, that's effective. But again, I just look at it as I'm holding you accountable to the standard that you said. And by your own standard, you are not effective. That's my personal belief.
Word.
Generally speaking, Like if somebody can pick this up and go start a war with it, yeah, you're probably pretty effective. But that's also not what you said that you were doing. That's not the purpose. That's not the reason. That's not the standard. That's not the requirement. That's not, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
Well, it actually is the standard because it's been going on since the beginning of time.
Also agree.
then it's time for us to be better.
Boom. Mic drop.
Stay tuned for scenes from the next episode of Between Sisters.
But would you have, I think I would have rather waited for him to say, I love you. Because I took the definition of love of what he was giving me. So it messed me up throughout my whole life because I love you, but I'm going to treat you badly.
But then
If that makes sense.
But then here's
So
another-
I would have actually wished that he did not say, I love you.